Hi everybody and welcome back to a new video on my channel. My name's Leora and I make videos here about books, reading, writing and sometimes other stuff as well. This week I was thinking, okay, it's springtime, the sun is shining, we need something uplifting, we need something fun. What am I gonna do? And then I was like, I know exactly what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna be tier ranking all the romance books I've read in the past 5 years. So that's exactly what I'm planning for today's video. I hope it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm using this tier ranker and I've made some tiers that I can show you guys. I've got my laptop right here, so I'm going to be screen recording so you all can follow what I'm doing. I've set it all up and we are now recording, so I want to show you guys all of the tiers that I've made on here, and we'll probably switch to a different screen. So my bottom tier is I literally do not remember what this was all about. And this is something I already noticed when I was making the tiers. I was like looking at this row of books and you know, some of them I've written 2018. So I barely remember what they are about, and I think that says something about the contents of the book as well. And then the next one is I'm unbothered about this. I'm like not hot and bothered, neither am I so bothered because it's such a bad book. I'm just unbothered. I don't really care. It was fine or just not great, you know? And then the next tier is me and this book both need Jesus. And this is for the books that were definitely a little bit smutty that I maybe did definitely enjoy, but it wasn't like the best thing I've ever read. And then next up we have I'm Lonely, and I love this book, which is basically books that made me realize how deeply single I am and that I really enjoyed reading. And then the next tier is Almost Made Me Unhate Dating. Obsessed. This means that I'm obsessed with the book and that I really enjoyed it, and it almost made me unhate the experience of going out for drinks with strangers and having small talk. So scrolling down you can see that there's definitely a type of cover that I'm attracted to in a book, and I didn't realize this before. Like, I've never really realized that I'm attracted to this very specific sort of pastel-y, illustrated person typography type of cover, because it's like literally the only one that you see showing up in these covers, so it's definitely very funny. So let's just get right into it, and first up here on the left I see Spoiler Alert by Olivia Dade, and this was a really cute rom-com with a plus-size main character. I believe she was dating a famous actor in this book, and it's an actor she previously wrote fan fiction about, so it's definitely an interesting storyline. So I definitely remember this book. I gave it around 3 stars, I believe, so I think for now I'm gonna put it in unbothered about this, because it wasn't like amazing to me. Like, I enjoyed it, I had a good time reading it, but it wasn't like earth-shattering or anything. And then next up I see Crazy Rich Asians. I wasn't sure if Crazy Rich Asians like qualified as a romance, but I didn't want this tier ranking thing to be really empty, so I was like, I'll take it, it's fine. I definitely really enjoyed Crazy Rich Asians. It's about this girl and she finds out that her boyfriend is crazy rich, and then she goes with him. I think they go to Singapore. It's been a while, so I'm not entirely sure if I remember that right. And she struggles like sort of getting along with his family and fitting in because they are so wildly, extremely rich. Oh, this is so difficult. I always forget that I'm really bad at making choices when I do videos like these, and like beforehand I'm like, yes, that'll be such a fun video idea, and then I'm filming and I'm like, yes, so fun. Okay, I think Crazy Rich Asians is gonna go in me and this book both need Jesus. Not because this book necessarily needs Jesus, to be honest. It wasn't that spicy in my memory, but I did really like it. Like, I liked it a bit better than Spoiler Alert, so I don't know where else to put it. The next book I see is Treasure by Rebecca Weatherspoon. This was one of the first like true romance books I've ever read, like one of the first novels that was very much a romance, and also a queer romance about 2 women. And I think this is the book that really made me go, I might actually like romance, I might actually enjoy romance, because before this I thought that romance wasn't really my thing. So I'm gonna put this in me and this book both. Where am I gonna put it? I think I'm gonna put it in I'm Lonely, and I love this book. Not because it's like the best romance I've ever read, but I definitely enjoyed it a lot and it made me discover the genre of romance. So I'm very thankful to Rebecca Weatherspoon, and it's a very sexy but fun and beautiful queer romance. So I really enjoyed it. A good sapphic book. Then we have Another Life by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I wasn't sure whether to put this on the romance list either, but I did finally just decide like it is sort of a romance. It's like sort of this dual timeline thing where you read different ways a woman's life could have gone based on the decisions she made in the story. It got a little bit tiring towards the end of the book because it was very repetitive in that some elements of her life sort of like came up twice, and then she would get taught the same lessons like twice, and they would be literally spelled out for you twice as well, which got very tiring after a while of reading. So I think I'm gonna put it in unbothered about this. I did enjoy it, but it just wasn't my favorite thing, you know. I didn't like love it so much. Then we have Anna and the French Kiss, which I was obsessed with at the time. When I read it, I adored it. I thought it was so good, but now looking back on it, it's like one of the worst books of all time. Just the love interest and that whole thing. It's like there's a lot of emotional cheating in this book as well. It's not something I really support. I do sort of remember what it's about. It's like a boarding school romance, I think. I think I'm gonna put it in unbothered about this as well. Just because at this point, well, I am bothered, to be honest. I'm bothered by lots of things happening in this book. It doesn't fit in any of the other ones, so I guess that's where he's gonna go. Then we have The Hating Game by Sally Thorne, which is one of the most recent romance books I've read. I was doing a sort of buddy read for this where we annotated each other's books. It was a lot of fun, but like not my favorite book either, and I think the having to annotate sort of kept me out of the story. Like every now and then I'd be like, oh right, I have to write something down. I did like it more towards the end when I got a little bit more into the story. There's this like scene at the end where one of the main characters totally puts like another horrible character in his place, and I always love a man being put in his place. So I really enjoyed that. I think like the spicy scenes were pretty good as well. So I'm gonna put it in me and this book both need Jesus, because I definitely liked it, even though I have a lot of negative things to say about it as well. So it's like an office romance. We have like this quirky girl and this more sort of serious, stern guy, and they hate each other, you know? They hate each other so much. They're just in love. Obviously. But they think they hate each other. So it's like a sort of enemies to lovers office romance. And I do have to say I did kind of enjoy it. So I'm just gonna put that out there. But I also got very annoyed, especially by the main character and her hobby of collecting Smurf statues, which is just a step too far for me. No Smurfs in this household. So if I ever have to read another book again where the main character talks so much about Smurfs, I cannot do it. Then we have Love, Hate and Other Filters. Now I have a very specific memory of reading this book when I was ill in bed. But other than that, I do have to say I don't remember it, but I do remember that I really liked it. The only reason I don't remember it is because it was such a long time ago, but I did like it. So I'm gonna put it in I'm lonely and I love this book, because I just remember like I read it in one night and I really enjoyed it. And I also remember vaguely that it was very funny. And that's all I can tell you at this point. I'm very sorry. Then we have Save the Date by Morgan Matson, which I read around the same time, and I literally do not remember what it was about. And I do remember that I did not like it, and it really fell short for me. It fell flat for me. It did not give me what I wanted it to give. I know that it's about a girl attending her sister's wedding, and that's all I know. So we're just gonna leave it at that. Then we have The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid as well, which is famously one of BookTube's favorite books and also one of my favorite books. I'm sorry, I just really enjoyed this book. It meant a lot to me, and I've reread it several times as well. So I'm gonna put it in Almost Made Me Unhate Dating, Obsessed. It was just a book I really enjoyed. So it's basically about this woman who's a famous actor. She's called Evelyn Hugo. She's telling her life story to this journalist called Monique. And we basically read about her love life and all the things she went through in her career and life. And it's a beautiful love story. And then we have The Kiss Quotient, which was very spicy. I remember that there was so many smut scenes in this book. Like literally, I think like one of the first chapters, it starts off with some hard ass smut right away. Yeah, there was no holding back in this one, but I really liked it. I had such a fun time reading it. I think it really helped that at the time I was in such a big romance mood. So this was definitely what I wanted to read. So that's always very helpful with me. I'm gonna put it in me and this book both need Jesus, because I need Jesus after reading that. But it was really good. So then we have Heartstopper, My Babies. I don't have to think about this. It's gonna go in Almost Made Me Unhate Dating. Heartstopper is a graphic novel series by Alice Oseman. I did put it in here because it is like about two boys falling in love and discovering their sexuality. But it's a graphic novel series and it's very lovely. It also discusses themes of mental health, and it's just very wholesome and heartwarming. So yeah, I really enjoy it. Then we have Red, White and Royal Blue. I know that there's so many people out there that despise this book, that really dislike it, but like sort of the bisexual discovery described in this and the friendships and sort of the banter between characters especially was so fun and so heartwarming and meant a lot to me at the time of reading it. So I'm also going to put that in Almost Made Me Unhate Dating, even though I know lots of people don't like this book, and there's definitely some valid criticisms of it as well. Same goes for The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, by the way. But personally, I did really enjoy reading it. Then we have The Unhoneymooners, and I literally do not know what it is about. Like, I know that Christina Lauren writes a pretty mean romance. I know lots of people have enjoyed her books, and I do vaguely remember not having the worst time reading this, but I also don't remember what happened. I think they went on a honeymoon, like on a boat. I don't know. Then we have Princess Charming by Rachel Hawkins. I know that there was the Prince of Scotland and like somebody's sister was dating him, but that's all I remember. Don't know, don't care, to be honest. I'm sorry. Then we have Get a Life, Chloe Brown. Obsessed, loved this one. When I read it, I was like, wait, I love romance. Romance is my new favorite thing. It's about Chloe who's chronically ill and she doesn't socialize a lot. She doesn't go outside of the house a whole lot. And then she meets this, he's not really the landlord. He's sort of like the maintenance guy, I guess. They start hanging out and she sort of has this to-do list of things she wants to do, like to get a life, you know, to go outside and experience things. And he helps her with it, and of course they fall in love, and it's really nice. Had a great time. I love Talia Hibbert because she's so funny. Then we have The Henna Wars, which I really, really liked, but I don't really remember a whole lot about it, so it wasn't especially memorable. I think I might just not be the right age category for this book anymore, but at the time of reading it, I did really enjoy it. And it had a lot of beautiful cultural aspects in it as well. I'm going to put it in Unbothered About This because it's not particularly smutty, so it feels a bit weird to put it in the one above. And it wasn't like one of my favourites, but I did definitely like it. Then we have The Voting Booth, which is sort of a funny book. It's equal parts about sort of being able to vote in America, and then it's also about just two teenagers falling in love. I liked it, but like that's kind of all I have to say about it. I also read that one in one day, I believe. Then we have Beach Read. Beach Read is definitely gonna go in I'm Lonely, and I love this book because I really, really enjoyed it. I thought all of the characters were so fun. I don't know, it's like nothing deep, you know, but I definitely enjoyed reading it, and I just enjoy reading about writers. I think that's the thing with me as well. It's about these two writers, and they are both in a vacation home near the beach, and then they decide to write each other's novels for each other. So it's sort of also this sort of enemies to lovers thing because they are both so different. I think they're like academic rivals from back in the day. That is slightly jogging my memory. Oh, the next book is Honey Girl. I read Honey Girl when I'd just broken 2 arms. It was the summer that both my arms were in a cast. It was a hard time for everybody involved, and I did not like this book. One of my best friends bought it for me to cheer me up, and it did not do its job. It was like not horrible to read, but it was like deeply poetic and sort of dramatic in a way I could not relate to. I just remember that it reminded me a lot of Tumblr and Tumblr writing, but there were a few moments in there that was sweet and beautiful, but it was not my favorite thing. So I'm gonna put it in Unbothered About This. I think it's definitely a good read for some people, and I think certain people will definitely really enjoy it, especially if you love like the sort of more flowery writing and you're not bothered by insta love and stuff like that. Then we have Nick and Charlie, which is I think a novella in the Heartstopper series. Really liked it. I had a great time. I'm gonna put it in I'm Lonely and I Love This Book. Wasn't anything too special, but I love Heartstopper, so anything related to it, I also really enjoy it. Then one last stop, I'm gonna put that one in Me and This Book Both Need Jesus. It's this sort of fantasy / romance thing. It's like not really fantasy, but not really romance. It has some time travel elements, and I am obsessed with any time travel books, so I really enjoyed that. It's a queer romance. It's almost fully set in the metro, which is really weird. Just read it and you'll find out. I did have a fun time reading it. Then we have Take a Hint, Danny Brown. I don't remember as much what this one was about, but I do remember liking it. So I'm gonna put it in Me and This Book Both Need Jesus, just because I liked it, but I couldn't tell you what it was really about other than I think the main character is a professor. And I think she falls in love with her security guard. And that's about it. Oh my god, the next one. In 5 Years. I have so much to say about this because I really did not like it. It was so not what I wanted it to be. Also a book that involves time travel. It's basically about this woman who has the perfect life. She's engaged, she's perfectly happy with her life, and then one day she wakes up and she's in a completely different apartment, different man, different ring on her finger, and she's like, what is going on? I'm not sure. And then she wakes back up in the present, and now her whole life is ruined because she knows that nothing is going to go the way she wants it to go. The way this story developed was everything I desperately did not want it to be. And there was so much weird sort of cheating and soulmate things in this, and it was so unnecessary. It threw one of the best characters completely under the bus, and there was like no justice for anybody involved, and I really did not like it. So I am definitely bothered. So I feel like there's no good tier for this, but I'm just gonna go with the bottom one, Summer of Everything. I remember that it was a cute queer romance set in a bookstore, and I don't remember much else. You Should See Me in a Crown. This was one of my favourite books at the time of reading it. I talked a lot about it on booktube as well. It just gave me the warm fuzzy feelings, and it was so cute, like a little prom queen sapphic romance, and yeah, very lovely. Written in the Stars, Alexandria Bellafleur. I was obsessed with this at the time of reading it. It was just so joyful, and another sapphic romance that just made me smile and feel warm inside, and it made me really happy. So that one is definitely going to go in the top tier, because when I read that, I was like, maybe I should get back out there. Maybe I should start dating again. Act Your Age, Eve Brown. That is one of the ones in the series that I do remember more about, especially this one scene that really made an impression on me because it was so funny, especially listening to the audiobook. Me and this book both need Jesus, but I'm gonna put it in I'm Lonely and I love this book because I really enjoyed it. Then we have Door Jou Ben Ik Mee, which is a Dutch book. It's a queer romance that focuses heavily on sort of religion and the trouble it can give queer youth. It was a very important story. I definitely enjoyed reading it. I think I'm gonna put it in I'm Lonely and I love this book because the things these two main characters went through to help each other, it was just really beautiful. Then we have Half a Soul, which is this sort of fairy Regency cutesy romance. Don't really remember a whole lot about it. I didn't hate it, wasn't obsessed with it. I'm gonna put it in unbothered about this. It definitely had cute vibes though, so I did enjoy the vibes. One to Watch. Want to Watch is like the thing you read when you want to watch reality TV, but you want to feel smart. So instead of watching reality TV, you're reading a book. And this is basically like a book which is The Bachelorette, but in book form. The main character was plus sized, which I think is wonderful that is getting better representation in novels. I've heard mixed opinions though about this specific representation. So I'll link some reviews down below so you can make up your own mind. I personally enjoyed the drama of the story. I thought that was just very entertaining. I think I'm going to put it in Me and this book both need Jesus because there was a lot of stuff going down that I did not agree with, but that I did read and giggle about. So, so much drama. Then we have Zomerburen, which is like Summer Neighbours, also a Dutch queer coming of age story. Lovely and wholesome. It gave me something I wish I would have read when I was younger. Growing up in a small town and not being sure about my sexuality, this would have been a wonderful read. So I'm going to put it in I'm Lonely and I love this book because I think it's an important read and I wish I could have read it earlier in my life. Then we have The Bridesmaids Survival Guide. Oh my god, isn't that cover stunning? I illustrated it. Yeah, very cute romance, also plus size main character. Really enjoyed like sort of the silliness of this book. It's like a bit more lighthearted and it's very funny. There's a wedding, there's some wedding dramatics, there's this cute unexpected romance happening. I thought it was very fun and I'm gonna put it in I'm Lonely and I love this book. Then we have Neon Gods, which was horrendous. It's basically this Hades and Persephone retelling that is extremely smutty and so strange and loosely based on what is actually the mythology. Also remember reading this in Paris and my best friend being absolutely disgusted with the literature I take in. I'm gonna put it in Me and this book both need Jesus, because we do. Then we have Hang the Moon, which is another one in the Written in the Stars series. I liked it, but it wasn't like my favourite thing, so I'm gonna put it in unbothered about this. Then we have Love and Other Disasters, which I read when I was in the hospital with tonsillitis. I have such specific memories for so many of these books, and they're like all so weird without context. And there was like a lot of food in this book. It was like sort of a Food Network show mixed with a romance book, and I couldn't eat at the time because I was ill. So I just kept reading it and being like, oh my god, I wish I could eat this right now. So I just remember being really hungry whilst reading this book. So I guess I was bothered, but I'm still going to put it in this tier because it fits best here. Then we have Instructions for Dancing, which combines two of my favourite things, which is sort of being a psychic and then also being very anxious about your life. So it's basically about this girl who, when she looks at couples, she can see how their romance is going to end. I think also how it started, but then also how it ends. So she kind of loses her ability to believe in love. And it's about rediscovering that. And I really enjoyed it. I think I'm kind of doubting between, I don't know. I'm going to go with I'm Lonely and I love this book. But I loved it a lot. Then when I was on my Talia Hibbert binge, I also read Wrapped Up in You, which is sort of her Christmas special romance. I remember it being absolutely silly, but I also remember having a wonderful time. And I just love anything Talia Hibbert writes. I would read this woman's grocery list. So yeah. Then we have Better Luck This Time, which is a queer romance I don't remember anything about. Didn't leave an impression on me. And I don't think I liked it a whole lot. I'm sorry. Next up is Dial A for Aunties, which is sort of a mix-up between a thriller book, like a sort of whodunit thing. Well, not a whodunit. We know who did it. It's like a thriller mixed up with a romance. It's about a girl who accidentally kills her date, and then her sort of group of aunties help her hide the body, and they also have a wedding business and they have to do all of this during wedding season. It's absolutely hilarious. I had to laugh every other page. Had a wonderful time reading it. I'm lonely and I love this book, although I do not want to kill my date. But, you know, I feel like I have to clarify that the romance is not with the dead body. It's with her, like, former love interest who comes back into the picture. I feel like that is an important tidbit you need to know. Then we have the X-Hex, which is a witchy romance thing, and I was like, this sounds like it's totally up my alley. This was in my like witch books moment. I really enjoyed it, but it wasn't my favorite thing ever, but the vibes were extremely wonderful, like the sort of gothic bed spicy scenes. I don't know, when there's lots of candles and they're doing spells, it's always good. I just really enjoy that, so I feel like that's also going to go in. I'm lonely and I love this book. Then we have Witches of New Orleans, which is a very smutty short story collection full of witch romance, and I thoroughly enjoyed this. I am aware that it's not the best piece of literature that's ever been produced, but there was this one specific enemies with benefits story in this with like two rivaling witch covens, and it was really good, and there was queer romance in it as well, and I just had a great time. And the cover is also very cute, which is important. The next book in the lineup is Count Your Lucky Stars, which I do remember enjoying, but I was a bit unbothered, to be honest. It wasn't my favorite thing. It didn't like make me filled up with love the way Written in the Stars did, unfortunately. So it's gonna go in unbothered about this. And then finally we have Book Lovers, and I know that Book Lovers has to go straight up to that top tier, which has almost made me unhate dating. I cried into my bowl of cereal when reading this book, which says more about me than about the book, to be honest, but there was also some beautiful storyline in this about sister relationships that I really related to. I really enjoyed that this book shows that you can rewrite your life and you have an impact on how it goes, you know, you can change things, you're allowed to. It's about this very stern woman who never gets to have her like cutesy romance, and then she goes to a small town and she has a sort of maybe cutesy romance that is a big struggle with this guy who's an editor, and they're sort of enemies from a big city where he's an editor and she's a writer. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. I love that it showed that you can be yourself and still find somebody that works for you. So I guess this is my final ranking. I'm not sure, like, should I change something? No, I feel like I'm pretty content with this. I'm definitely curious to hear if you've read any of these books. Let me know in the comments down below what were your thoughts on these specific reads, and I hope you enjoyed this type of content. I haven't made something like this in a very long time, so I hope you still really liked it. And if you don't know what to comment, please leave a nice romance book emoji series for me. Like, I don't know, just do something creative. Give me some hearts. I'll see all of you in the next video. Bye!